no surprises. Our suppliers get paid faster, too, which motivates them to make swift deliveries. The list of benefits goes on. We're always discovering new ones. With my insistence on eliminating paperwork, I must sound anti-paper. I am against paper forms, but even I still print out long electronic documents I want to read and annotate. Most people, when they're trying to organize a long document, like to spread out the pages on a table so that they can see them all at once. Hard to do with a PC. Until we get a breakthrough in flat-screen technology, and furious research is going on at Xerox, the MIT Media Lab, Kent State, Microsoft, and other academic and corporate research sites in the United States and Japan, books and magazines still can't be beat for readability and portability. Today, PCs are better than paper for reading when you have shorter documents and lots of collaboration, or when you're searching and pivoting through data. Easy searches and hypertext links are the major reasons electronic encyclopedias have overtaken print encyclopedias in popularity. For forms, where you're filling in data that eventually has to be entered into a computer anyway, the time is ripe for abolishing paper. Otherwise, you end up with groups whose job is to take paper forms and type the information into the computer system. Then you get people who measure their productivity by noting how great it is that their data entry error rate has gone down from 3% to 2%. If you start with electronic forms, you not only eliminate extra work, you also ensure consistency, easy measurement, and proper authorization. When a paper form is confusing, you end up calling somebody or going somewhere to stand in line. On our intranet, every page contains summaries and details of plans, the ability to search, and links to related pages, and to answers to frequently asked questions or facts. A well-thought-out fact feature on a new intranet application can save us 200 or more emails from employees looking for basic information. Since you have no control over the paper that reaches you from outside your organization, your strategy should be to integrate it into your electronic systems. Companies such as Eastman Software and Platinum Software use imaging software to scan documents and integrate them into the digital flow. You can drill down through various levels of detail in cost summaries, all the way to an image of the original paper invoice, and you can index and search for original paper documents and include them in email-based workflow scenarios. While not as good as having data come in digitally, scanning enables you to go all digital internally while waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. While the move from paper to electronic forms is a vital step in the evolution of a modern organization's nervous system, you should use the change to improve important processes central to your business, rather than just streamline what you have. Once in place, a digital nervous system is easy to build on. A good network, a good email system, and easy-to-build web pages are everything you need for eliminating internal paper forms, too. You can add any number of intranet applications easily once this infrastructure is in place. Our internal tools have two goals: to use software to handle routine tasks, eliminating wasted time and energy for our knowledge workers, and to free people to do more difficult work and handle exceptions. Our internal developers use the soft-boiled egg rule. A user must be able to get into and out of an administrative tool within 3 minutes. The metric ensures that we don't automate a process with a clumsy tool. Streamlining administrative and internal business processes is an important way to improve the overall efficiency of your employees. Giving knowledge workers good internal tools also sends them a subtle but important message. Companies talk about rewarding initiative and keeping workers focused on business. When employees see a company eliminate bottlenecks and time-draining routine administrative chores from their workdays, they know that the company values their time and wants them to use it profitably. It's easy to measure when you make your factory workers more efficient. It's hard to measure when you make your knowledge workers more effective, but it's just common sense that knowledge workers who are not distracted or burdened by routine matters will do better work. The benefit to customers is that your employees spend less time shuffling papers and more time on customer needs. I know one thing for sure: You couldn't make Microsoft employees go back to the old way of doing things. The predictions that we'd have paperless offices were right, just premature by several decades.
Well, a knowledge worker is somebody who takes information and uses it in an intelligent way, not in a preordained kind of rote, just enter the data into the computer type way. I think that all workers will become knowledge workers because those simplistic kind of jobs will be eliminated. Now, there's an opportunity there to use these knowledge workers to help customers in new ways. That can only be done, though, if it's easy for them to get the information, if it's literally at their fingertips and they're very comfortable with the tools that deliver up that information.
Part 2. Commerce. The Internet changes everything. Not too long ago, I had a talk scheduled with the board of directors of a German financial institution. These were experienced business people. The youngest person there was probably 55, and many of them were in their 60s. They'd seen a lot of changes in banking, and beginning with mainframes, they'd lived through a lot of technology changes, too. The bank had not yet, though, embraced the new Internet technologies. On the day of my talk, they'd heard a series of presentations from Microsoft employees about our strategy. When I walked into the briefing center, they were all sitting there with their arms folded across their chests, looking unhappy. "Okay," I said, "what's the problem?" One of them replied, "We think that banking is in the process of changing completely, and we're getting technical presentations from people here at Microsoft, more technical than we're used to." He took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes and said, "This is probably good, although it's making us tired." After a pause, he continued, "It's good that you're just going to make all of your products better, but what's the overall plan? To view you as a long-term vendor, we need you to give us a vision of the future. What are your organizing principles for development?" I went to the whiteboard and began to go down the major changes that I thought were going to occur with technology in the near future. What I'm about to write down are 10 inflection points that I think will fundamentally alter all industries, I told the bankers. I'm going to ask you whether you believe each of them will happen. Never mind for now how quickly. Just tell me whether you believe they're ever going to occur. If you don't believe they will, then you shouldn't change what you're doing with technology. But if you believe they're going to happen, and it's only a matter of time, then you should start to prepare for that change today. I asked, "Do you believe that in the future people at work will use computers every day for most of their jobs? Do you believe that one day most households will have computers? Do you believe that one day most businesses and most households will have high-speed connections to the World Wide Web? Do you believe email will become as common a method of communication among people in business and homes as the telephone or paper mail is today? Now, if most people have computers and use them every day," I asked, "do you believe that most information will start arriving in digital form? Do you think digital appliances will become common?" I asked. "Do you believe that digital devices for photography, video, TV, and phones will become ubiquitous? Do you expect that other new digital devices will proliferate around the home and be connected to the web? Do you foresee a time," I asked, "when notebook computers become computer notebooks?" I described what I meant, a computer notebook being a new device that enables you to take notes as you do today with a notepad and lets you carry with you all the personal and professional data you need. "Am I wasting your time?" I asked. "Do you believe these changes are ever going to happen?" By now we were beginning to have a dialogue. They had a short conversation among themselves in German. The banker who had spoken before said, "We hired a management consultant, and we've been going through the same discussion at home, and yes, we believe it's going to happen. When it does, it's going to completely change the nature of banking." After another conversation in German, the banker added, "We've decided that inside of 10 years these inflection points will have arrived." To prepare for that change, I told them, you need to make digital information flow pervasive in your organization. information flow pervasive in your organization. I talked briefly about needing to take advantage of existing digital tools they already have for their knowledge workers, about digitally linking their knowledge systems with business operations systems and ultimately creating a new infrastructure around the PC and Internet technologies. If you do these things, I told them, you'll be prepared for the 3 fundamental business shifts that will occur as the result of all the digital inflection points. 1. Most transactions between business and consumers, business, and consumers and government will become self-service digital transactions. Intermediaries will evolve to add value or perish. 2. Customer service will become the primary value-added function in every business. Human involvement in service will shift from routine, low-value tasks to a high-value personal consultancy on important issues, problems, or desires for the customer. 3. The pace of transactions and the need for more personalized attention to customers will drive companies to adopt digital processes internally if they have not yet adopted them for efficiency reasons. Companies will use a digital nervous system to regularly transform their internal business processes to adapt to an environment that constantly changes because of customer needs and competition. Complex customer service and business problems will require powerful computers on both sides of the relationship, customer and employee. The new relationships will be augmented by various electronic means, such as voice, video, interactive use of the same computer screen, and so on. We'll see a world in which fairly simple personal companion devices proliferate side by side with incredibly powerful, general-purpose PCs that support knowledge work at home or the office. The German Bank Board had a final question for me, which is the question on everyone's mind. What should they do personally to get ready for this new digital world? I left them with these thoughts. Practice hands-on usage. Senior executives should use email and other electronic tools to get familiar with a new way of doing things. They should see what their competitors' Internet sites look like. They should become Internet users and consumers. Buy some books and arrange some travel over the Internet, I told them, and see what it's like.
I think every business person needs to get personally involved in using the PC and the Internet, going out and buying some products, seeing the type of homepage their company has, see what their competitors have there. That'll help them to appreciate that whatever constituency they're working with, partners, shareholders, prospective employees, and most importantly, their customers, that this really is a new way of communicating.
As of late 1998, CEOs are beginning to explore this new medium. About 50% of the readership of Chief Executive magazine use the Internet an hour or 2 a week, but only 25% use it daily, and 11% have never used the Internet at all. Many consumers already use the Internet far more intensively. If you're going to lead the digital age, you need to become familiar enough with the Internet to be able to imagine what the web lifestyle will mean for your industry, even if the change is going to take years. You should find ways to immerse yourself and your other executives in these new approaches, and have retreats where you can determine the right strategy for applying them to your own business. For years and years, enthusiasts have been saying that the Internet will happen tomorrow. You're going to keep reading prognostications that the big change will happen in the next 12 months. This is just baloney. The social adaptations that have to occur take years, and the infrastructure has to be built out. But when the social and technical changes reach critical mass, the change will be quick and irreversible. The point will come where the web lifestyle really will take off, and I believe that's sometime in the next 5 years. As I said in The Road Ahead, we always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years, and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. Don't let yourself be lulled into inaction. One possible scenario is that you'll scramble to build some Internet sites, and then you won't see an appreciable portion of your customers or partners using them right away. This situation might mislead you into thinking, oh well, the Internet's not going to change our business after all, so let's not focus on it. Because it won't happen overnight, you might think nothing fundamental is going to change. Then, a few years later, all of a sudden the change will surprise you, and you'll find it hard to catch up. The middleman must add value. Here on the edge of the 21st century, a fundamental new rule of business is that the Internet changes everything. At the minimum, Internet technologies are altering the way every company, even a small one, deals with its employees, partners, and suppliers. Not every company needs to use the Internet to interact with its customers right now, but someday soon a corporate website where customers can do business with a company will be as essential as the telephone and a mailing address have been. Already, the overwhelming majority of Fortune 500 companies have websites. The Internet is driving down costs for transactions and distribution and reshaping the relationships of companies with their customers. The Internet produces more competition among vendors and more access to vendors by potential customers. In pre-Internet days, the only way consumers could get goods from most manufacturers was through tiers of distributors and resellers. Today, consumers can transact business directly with manufacturers eager to offer Internet service. Nowadays, any manufacturer can provide the Internet equivalent of a factory outlet. Before the Internet, gathering all the information for financial products, travel options, and other consumer products required lots of time. A multitude of service companies made their money by collecting and organizing that kind of information for customers. Today, despite imperfect search tools, consumers themselves can go to the Internet to find much of the information they need, and any company can dispense valuable information cheaply by means of the Internet without branch offices. The Internet is a great tool for helping customers find the best deal they can. It is reasonably easy for consumers to jump from one retail website to another to find the best prices on some goods. At least 2 different services provide real-time pricing comparisons for consumers shopping for goods such as books and CDs. Some travel sites feature automated bargain finders that can track down low airfares. At least one company, Priceline.com, reverses the buyer-seller relationship by having buyers bid the price they're willing to pay for a car or a plane ticket and shopping that price around to sellers. How broadly this approach will be used is yet unclear, but it is possible only through the reach of the Internet. Some web merchants will adopt flexible pricing. Flexible prices are already a fixture of the ordinary marketplace. Many electronics and appliance stores advertise price guarantees in which they promise to match the lowest price a consumer can find. This strategy lets them say that they won't be undersold even while their marked prices stay higher. Some stores run so many sales that there are really 2 prices for most items, the regular price for the impulse shopper and the sale price for the patient shopper. Direct mail marketers often publish different prices in different catalogs targeted at different market segments. When you call to order, the sales representative asks you for your customer number or catalog number first so that he or she knows what to charge you. The techniques used by direct marketers are crude compared with what the Internet will make possible. Sellers will identify repeat visitors to their online stores and give them personalized information and services. If a store's website comes to know what kinds of prices a customer has or hasn't been willing to pay in the past, it may reduce a price to spur that customer to buy. Many websites ask users for registration information, including name, address, demographic data, and credit information. While this data enables businesses to offer better services and support for customers and do more targeted marketing, consumers should be able to approve in advance the use of any personal data and whether that data can be passed on to other entities. Today, e-commerce runs on the honor system, with vendors asking users their permission for information use. We're working on technology that would let consumers predefine the type of data that their PCs would make available to other systems over a network. The software will put the control with the user where it belongs. while also eliminating the need for the user to re-enter the same data over and over. Adding value to transactions. Now that customers can deal directly with manufacturers and service providers, there is little value added in simply transferring goods or information. Various commentators have predicted the death of the middleman. Certainly the value of a pass-through middleman is quickly falling to zero. Travel agents who simply book plane fares will disappear. This kind of high-volume, low-value transaction is perfect for a self-service internet travel reservation site. In the future, travel agents will need to do more than book tickets. They will need to create a total travel adventure. A travel agent who provides highly personalized tours of, say, Italy or the California wine country will still be in great demand. If you're a middleman, the Internet's promise of cheaper prices and faster service can disintermediate you, eliminate your role of assisting the transaction between the producer and the consumer. If the Internet is about to disintermediate you, one tack is to use the Internet to get back into the action. That's what Egghead.com, formerly Egghead, a major retail software chain, did after struggling for several years. Egghead closed all of its physical stores nationwide in 1998 and set up shop exclusively on the Internet. Eliminating brick-and-mortar expenses, though, is only a tactic, not a strategy. Egghead now offers a number of new online programs that take advantage of the Internet, such as electronic auctions for about 50 different categories of hardware and software, and for reconditioned computers. It puts special liquidation prices on systems available on its website and sends out a weekly email hot list with exclusive offers available only to email subscribers. The jury is still out on whether Egghead will thrive and meet the test of this section, which is that the middleman must add value, but the company certainly understands the principle. Every retail store needs to take the Internet into account. The success of the Amazon.com bookstore, which exists only on the Internet, impelled Barnes & Noble to combine its successful physical bookstores with a strong presence in cyberspace, and to team up with Bertelsmann, a leading international media company, in an online joint venture. For service industries, the Internet requires you to be either a high-volume, low-cost provider or a high-touch customer service provider. For the high-volume, low-cost model, you use Internet technology to create a self-service approach. You make a lot of information available to customers, and you drive a lot of traffic and transactions through your Internet site, offering the best price. Because only a few companies in any market will be the high-volume players, most companies will have to find ways to use the Internet not just to reduce costs, but also to deliver new services. E-Trade Securities pioneered the low-cost Internet self-service approach to financial services in 1992. The Forrester Group estimated that there were 3 million online brokerage customers in the United States at the end of 1997, and said that the number could top 14 million within 5 years. By 1998, at least 70 brokerage firms provided self-service online stock trading, and the number was continuing to rise. Online trading accounted for more than 20% of all retail transactions. A few online brokerages, designed for experienced investors and offering no research, charge very little per trade, but most offer a range of research and services in an effort to set themselves apart, and they charge more per trade. These new online financial services create an interesting challenge for the traditional brokerage houses accustomed to providing their services in person or over the phone. Most of the data that brokerage firms provide to their customers is now available for free on the Internet. These firms face a fundamental strategy decision. Do you use technology to play the same game that the e-traders play? And if you do that, how do you differentiate yourself from them? Or do you use technology to play to your traditional strengths, highly trained staff accustomed to managing long-term customer relationships? If you adopt the latter strategy, how can you use technology to be more efficient, and how can you turn the Internet's popularity to your advantage? As electronic commerce booms, it's not just middlemen who will find creative ways to use the Internet to strengthen their relationships with customers. The merchants who treat e-commerce as more than a digital cash register will do the best. Sales are the ultimate goal, of course, but the sale itself is only one part of the online customer experience. Some companies will use the Internet to interact with their customers in ways that haven't been possible before, and make the sale part of a sequence of customer services for which the Internet has unique strengths. It's important that customers come away from electronic interactions pleased enough to tell their friends. Word of mouth is the most powerful means by which any product or company builds a reputation, and the Internet is a medium made for word of mouth. If a customer doesn't like a product or the way a vendor has treated him, he's likely to email all of his friends or post a message on a heavily trafficked bulletin board. Today, the primary competition for online stores is physical stores. Physical stores far outdo online stores in sales volumes. Online sales in 1998 were not much more than a rounding error in the world's overall business volume, only 0.5% of the total retail sales of the 7 largest economies. But that percentage will grow radically in the next decade. As e-commerce takes hold, the main competition for Internet sites will no longer be physical stores, but online stores. Rapidly growing categories for online commerce include finance and insurance, travel, online auctions, and computer sales. Today's Internet customers are the technically savvy. Companies such as Cisco Systems, Dell Computer, and Microsoft are now doing billions of dollars each in annual transactions over the Internet. Tomorrow's customers will be the mainstream. Chrysler expects its 1.5% online sales volume to jump to 25% in 4 years. Even the most conservative estimates project an annual growth rate of about 45% for online sales. The highest projections are for more than $1.6 trillion in business by the year 2000. I think this number is too low. In an online variant of the department store bridal registry, Eddie Bauer's online catalog enables a customer to post his name, his size, and a wish list of products he'd like so that his friends and family can buy him gifts he wants. No more wrong sizes or ugly ties. Geffen Records promotes its own artists and artists from associated labels on its website, but it also sells music from other labels. The site cross-promotes T-shirts, other fan-type merchandise, and movies. To build a community, the site offers discussion groups for fans and 24-hour response to email queries. Dell got into e-commerce early, convinced that if you build it, they will come. Dell's objective was to use the flow of information made possible by the Internet to directly touch customers and create a level of customer service that would naturally drive more sales. Dell Computers was one of the first major companies to move to e-commerce. A global computer supplier with more than $18 billion in revenue, Dell began selling its products online in mid-1996. Its online business quickly rose from $1 million a week to $1 million a day. Soon it jumped to $3 million a day, then $5 million. It's still rising. Computer buyers clearly like the friction-free purchasing environment of the web. Now Dell has more than 1.5 million visits a week to its website, and 11% of its overall business is online. Dell intends to grow that portion to more than 50%, perhaps as early as 2000. A lot of Dell's web business is probably new, since revenue on the web is growing significantly faster than Dell's overall revenue, but the company doesn't spend a lot of time worrying about it. Instead, the company just talks about web-enabled revenue, including the way the web supports other sales efforts. The web streamlines transactions and reduces technical support calls, too. Michael Dell, the company's founder, has a well-documented commitment to direct selling and computer-aided commerce. When he was 12 years old, Michael netted $2,000 selling stamps by mail order. In high school, Michael hustled newspaper subscriptions by using an Apple IIe to develop mailing lists targeting newlyweds or families who had just moved to town. He made enough money to buy himself a BMW. As a freshman at the University of Texas in 1983, Michael took excess inventory from local computer dealers at cost, upgraded the machines, and sold them over the phone for less than the dealers were charging. Within a year, he had left school to build a computer company operating on the same direct sales principle. When the Internet began to gain momentum, Michael was interested. He knew that the Internet could extend Dell's direct relationship with the customer from the customer's phone to the customer's desktop. Ultimately, Dell figured out that to get into high gear, the company needed to integrate the Internet into its overall business strategy. It established a business unit dedicated to online commerce and support. Starting early, just as the Internet was reaching out beyond students and technologists and into the mass market, Dell broke into Internet commerce when many companies were talking about it, but only a few were actually doing it. The company didn't know how customers wanted to use the Internet. The customers themselves weren't sure. Dell built an initial site that provided product information, enabled simple orders, and solicited feedback. Dell learned a lot from the customer suggestions that came in, mostly online. Over time, Dell has made hundreds of changes to its website, including 3 major updates and many minor feature changes, such as turning menu options into radio buttons to make the options easier to select. Step by step, Dell has added capabilities for customers, such as the ability to track the status of any order and get service and support. Cumulatively, these features have caused a major shift in Dell's business practices. Michael Dell characterizes the direct business today as different combinations of face-to-face, ear-to-ear, and keyboard-to-keyboard. Each has its place. The Internet doesn't replace people, it makes them more efficient. By moving routine interactions to the web and enabling customers to do some things for themselves, we've freed up our salespeople to do more meaningful things with customers. Before, customers had a simple, convenient way to interact with the company, through the Dell salesperson who sold them the computer, and the Dell salesperson was trained to make the customer's problems go away. As it introduced its new technology, Dell had to ensure that 2 things happened: that the new solution would be at least as convenient as calling, and that its own salespeople would change their way of doing business. Michael Dell says, "We'd spent 13 years building a culture based on high-quality customer service. A lot of it was based on our salespeople being on the phone to customers all the time. Now we wanted to insert another piece. The hardest part was not the technology, but the behavior shift, for our own salespeople as well as the customers. Simplicity and convenience were paramount. We had to build an Internet system that was so convenient, customers got more value for their time than they did on the phone. That was the only way we could wean them off face-to-face or ear-to-ear contact. It was a high bar to clear." Having more information online for customers didn't lessen the value of Dell's corporate sales team. With more reports and quoting tools online and available to customer and salesperson alike, the salesperson had fewer but meatier engagements with customers. Dell found out that an educated customer is a better customer. Dell salespeople had already begun to play a consultant's role, helping the customer develop technology migration plans, leasing and asset replacement programs, and understanding the customer's business well enough to recommend ways that technology could help the bottom line more. Digital web transactions reduced the time that sales representatives spent processing orders, checking order status, and fielding customer service queries. Sales representatives now have more time for consulting, building the customer relationship, and selling. Representatives can still help out whenever they are needed. A customer can send a partially completed order form to a sales representative and get assistance before placing an order. Real-time flow of sales information through its website and order processing system is important to Dell's competitive situation. Instead of having 80 days of inventory as indirect sellers have, although indirect sellers are trying to reduce that number, Dell keeps only 8 days of inventory, and much of that is in parts such as chips and hard drives. Dell's manufacturing time is only 4 hours, Machines generally reach customers within 3 to 5 days of order. Dell's business model is based on the evils of inventory. The more Dell can reduce its inventory, the more it frees up working capital to drive into other revenue-generating activities. Dell's reduced inventory translates to a savings of hundreds of millions of dollars in assets. At the same time, the requirement for great customer service means that you never want to be out of stock either. Only information technology can provide the means to balance these needs. Physical assets used to be a defining advantage, Michael says. Now they're a liability. The closer you get to perfect information about demand, the closer you can get to zero inventory. It's a simple formula. More inventory means you have less information, and more information means you have less inventory. We're trading physical assets for information. Going forward, Dell is taking the next steps in website development, customizing even more services on its premier pages, and making the entire ordering process for major customers totally paperless. Even with the ability of customers to order online, much of the approval process within a customer's organization has still been paper-based. Dell will give companies an order application that integrates Dell's ordering database with the customer's purchasing system. Flexible reporting tools will give customers the ability to query Dell's information systems and generate their own status reports. Dell is already offering Internet transaction capability in 36 countries and 18 languages. The company plans to continue expanding its Internet services internationally, so customers have a consistent Dell Internet experience everywhere. Dell Computers was smart enough to recognize that commerce should be a combination of interaction over the Internet and personal contact. It's not a matter of either-or. People think it's the cold screen versus the warm face-to-face and assume that the person-to-person interaction will win. Because they don't see where the Internet belongs on the marketing sales service spectrum, they underestimate the Internet's capabilities. Smart companies will combine Internet services and personal contact in programs that give their customers the benefits of both kinds of interaction. You want to move pure transactions to the Internet. Use online communication for information sharing and routine communication, and reserve face-to-face interaction for the activities that add the most value. In addition to using the Internet simply to make reservations or place product orders, customers find the Internet the perfect medium for gathering information, assessing product value and price performance, checking order status, diagnosing and solving simple problems, and other relatively straightforward tasks. More and more in this scenario, sales personnel become consultants. Adopt the web lifestyle.
Well, the web, of course, is referring to the Internet and the way that all the rich information out there will allow people to find out whatever they want to know. So the web will change the way we work. The web will allow some work to be done from at home. The web will allow people to collaborate and share like never before. And so I think that whole approach to work deserved a term, so I coined that new term, web work style. Web lifestyle is the home equivalent of that, the idea that when you want to plan a trip, you want to stay in touch with relatives who are far away, things like exchanging photos, finding the best prices, being able to select creative gifts, and just using it to communicate, that will become commonplace. Any activity you're going to engage in, whether it's buying or simply planning something, you'll be able to take advantage of the web, and you'll even take it for granted. It won't be as much trouble as it is today. The use of the PC and the Internet at work is grown quite a bit, and companies now are putting the information there, and the improvements that will be taking place, the price of the PC coming down, the improvements in communications, and these new devices that will hook us up to the web will all mean that we'll be able to adapt a new way of doing things that just helps us get done what we've always wanted to get done.
If you asked your friends why they use the phone to communicate with their friends, or why they turn to the television for entertainment or breaking news, they'd look at you kind of funny. If you asked your friends whether they'd adopted the electricity lifestyle, they'd think you were downright nuts. People in developed countries take their electrical devices for granted. We just use them. But people who are now in their 50s can remember when just a few families had TVs. Our grandparents can remember when much of rural America was without electricity. A few people alive today were born before the widespread use of electricity in cities. The telegraph first connected the far corners of the globe with fast communications a century ago. It's taken more than 100 years for the electricity lifestyle to reshape civilization. Because the Internet is a worldwide communications infrastructure that depends on electricity, you could say that its popular acceptance is an extension of the electricity lifestyle. But the Internet is enabling a new way of life that I call the web lifestyle. The web lifestyle, like the electricity lifestyle, will be characterized by rapid innovations in applications. Because the infrastructure for high-speed connectivity has reached critical mass, it's giving rise to new software and hardware that will reshape people's lives. Intelligent devices such as the PC are becoming more powerful and less expensive. Since they're programmable, they can be used for many different applications. Within a decade, most Americans and many other people around the world will be living the web lifestyle. It will be a reflex for these people to turn to the web to get news, to learn, to be entertained, and to communicate. It will be just as natural as picking up the phone to talk to somebody or ordering something from a catalog is today. The web will be used to pay your bills, manage your finances, communicate with your doctor, and conduct any business. Just as naturally, you'll carry one or more small devices using a wireless connection to stay constantly in touch and conduct electronic business wherever you are. For a lot of people, the web lifestyle is well on its way today. By 1998, more than 60 million Americans were using the web regularly, up from 22 million the year before. By 1998, the average user accessed the web 8 to 9 separate days a month, spending a total of about 3.5 hours a month online. It's exciting to see that people living the web lifestyle are using the Internet to learn and buy in new ways. When the Sojourner landed on Mars in the summer of 1997, NASA's website drew 47 million hits in 4 days from people seeking more detail than they could get from the traditional news media. Whatever you think of the Starr report on President Clinton, the Internet was the only feasible medium for disseminating the 445-page document quickly. 6 to 9 million people viewed it the first weekend after its release. Businesses are providing a wide variety of information and services, whether it's real-time stock quotes, sports scores, or city guides. You can buy almost anything on the web, from impressionist paintings to metal cartoon superhero school lunchboxes, which have become collectibles. The web is an ideal vehicle for community building, too. There are sites for tracking missing children and helping people adopt pets, and for every activity imaginable. Sites that involve citizens are getting excellent traffic flow. One website shows all the industrial polluters in the United States, offering maps and the ability to search by company name or locale. It drew 300,000 users in the first 5 hours it was up, almost all by word of mouth. A cultural change as substantial as a move to the web lifestyle will be generational to some degree. It's the kids growing up with the new technology and taking it as a given who will show us the full potential. On most U.S. college campuses, the critical mass for a web-ready culture already exists. Personal computer use, high-speed networking, and online communication are widespread. Universities are dispensing with paper forms and registering students for classes over the web. Students can look at their grades and even turn in their homework over the web. Teachers hold online discussion groups. Students email friends and family as naturally as they call them. Students are the ultimate knowledge workers. Their job is to learn and explore, and find unexpected relationships between things. The specifics of the academic courses don't matter as much as learning to think and analyze. Students are developing Internet skills that will help them learn throughout their lives. For business, there's an opportunity to learn from the way students use the Internet today to organize and manage their lives. Their approach is a guide to how the general population will use the Internet 10 years from now. The adoption of technology for the web lifestyle is happening faster than the adoption of electricity, cars, TV, and radio. Usage spreads through the workplace exposure to PCs and through friends and relatives. Many people who use PCs at the office install them at home for work and then use them for far more. A lot of people over 55 years old who wouldn't usually integrate new technology in their lifestyle are motivated to use the Internet as a way to stay in touch with their friends and families. A friend of mine recently received email from two distantly related women in their 70s. They were into the Internet to research genealogy. Radical new uses of the Internet that none of us can accurately predict today will reshape the world as fundamentally in the 21st century as the unexpected uses of electricity did in the 20th, and faster. As consumers rapidly move online, one of the most fundamental shifts will be the degree to which consumers will manage their finances, including banking, mortgage, utilities, and credit cards, online. In 1998, only about 1 million of the 15 billion total bills in the United States were paid electronically. Little online customer service was available. In fact, though consumers can pay some bills online, in almost every case they still receive them on paper. As more consumers are able to pay online, the U.S. Commerce Department estimates processing costs will drop more than $20 billion annually. Within a couple of years, electronic bill payment will be offered by most companies, and financial institutions will maintain a single site where customers can go to pay their monthly bills. From your banking web page, you'll click on the icon for your credit card company or department store or utility and go directly to that company's site for your account information. You'll have more information about your bills online than you have on paper today. You'll be able to drill into account and payment history. Rather than having to write a separate letter, you'll click on an email button to ask a question about a bill. Merchants will use your online bill review page to promote additional products and services. Today you have to figure out on paper what bills you want to pay and how much you want to pay on each. In the future, software will enable you to calculate online the effect of various payments on your bank balance. You'll make your payment exactly when it's due. Bill payment systems will integrate with financial management software. By late 1998, about half of all American households had PCs, and about half of those PCs were connected to the web. The percentages are lower in most other countries. Reducing the cost of high-speed communications so people can remain constantly connected and making the software simpler to use are critical to making the web lifestyle commonplace. I believe that by the year 2001, more than 60% of U.S. households will have PCs, and that 85% of those homes will have Internet access. For other countries to reach these levels of use, they will have to make large investments in communications infrastructure. People underestimate the degree to which the hardware and software will improve. Take just one aspect, screen technology. I do my electronic mail on a 20-inch LCD, liquid crystal display monitor. It's not available at a reasonable price yet, but in 2 or 3 years it will be. In 5 years, a 40-inch LCD with much higher resolution will be affordable. Screen quality will have a profound effect on how much people will read on the screen instead of on paper. The cost of a personal computer is also coming down. Historically, innovation has focused on creating a more powerful PC at a given price point. Now, innovation is reducing price as well. Capable PCs cost well under $1,000 today, and lower price points are expanding the market. Looking at a 10-year time frame, you're going to have PCs that cost the same as a typical TV set. In fact, the distinction between a TV set and a PC will be fuzzy, because even set-top boxes that connect TVs to the cable system will have a processor more powerful than the one we have today in the most expensive PC. Smaller personal companions will become prevalent. These will include the handheld PCs on the market today, new computer tablets, and wallet-sized PCs that will carry identification and enable electronic transactions. The phone, radio, and TV will pick up new capabilities as they go digital. Some devices will be carried on your person. Some will be in different rooms in your house. Others will become standard in vehicles. Any of them will enable you to access such information as email and voicemail, stock reports or other news, the latest weather, and the status of your airplane flight. These devices will connect through wires or through wireless technologies such as infrared and radio frequencies. Though the devices will function independently, they will synchronize data among themselves automatically. These devices will become part of the fabric of daily activities. When you leave the office for the day, your personal digital companion will download your email, which might include a grocery list from your spouse. At the store, you can download a new recipe from a kiosk, which adds to your grocery list all the items you would need to use the recipe. Your digital companion is smart enough to update all the devices that need to know your home or work schedule, but updates only the kitchen device with the recipe. From a computer tablet in the kitchen or den, you check the house's status. The furnace icon may be blinking because the filter needs to be changed. A video of the front door area shows who stopped by while no one was home. Digital security cameras connected to a network are becoming cheaper and will be common to reduce theft. Some daycare centers and schools are providing password-protected access to cameras to enable parents to check on their kids while they're at school. While dinner is cooking, you go to a private website for your extended family and find out that everyone has been in the chat room discussing what activities to do at an upcoming family reunion. They used electronic polling to settle on any of half a dozen possible events, and they've asked you to go ahead and schedule as many of them as you can. A software agent, which knows you have already booked travel to the location, suggests several nearby activities, including rafting, which was on your family's list. The agent also alerts you to a new lower airfare to your destination. You digitally book the rafting and the lower fares. When you're ready to watch TV, you might scroll through the electronic programming guide on screen or use another software agent to see what's on. You've told the agent your viewing preferences, and it's tracked your actual viewing patterns, so it recommends several shows among the many hundreds available on digital TV. You choose to see a rodeo. While watching, you use the interactive menu to enter a contest and to judge the bull riding events. Viewer scores will count for half the final results. A commercial comes on advertising a minivan. Most viewers see an ad for pickup trucks, but demographic data that you voluntarily provided through your TV indicates that you're a better candidate for a family hauling vehicle. Using the interactive TV's menu, you also discover that there's a rodeo in the town where you're having the reunion. Your family wanted at least one more unusual outdoor activity, so you booked the rodeo, too. The activity is automatically added to the reunion schedule, which you now email to the rest of the family. Development of intelligent interactive TV will come as television moves from analog transmission, where video and audio are carried using signal strength, to digital transmission, where video and audio are carried as digital bits. Digital transmission is less subject to distortion, is easier to correct for errors, and provides for higher quality video and sound. Better video and sound have been the main focus for broadcast networks with digital TV in the form of high-definition television, HDTV. As of late 1998, 41 U.S. stations had begun digital broadcasting for HDTV. Digital TV can do a lot more than improve broadcast quality, though. Satellite and cable companies are already using digital TV to deliver more channels. Over time, the biggest impact of digital TV will be the ability to integrate other digital data, providing interactivity, smart agents, targeted advertising and sales offers, and access to the web. Broadcasters will provide enhanced content, such as links to relevant websites or entirely new web content that complements the broadcast, or download music or software for a fee to a user's digital video disc, DVD. Many of the new features require a two-way link, which is easy for new cable TV systems. Older cable systems have to be upgraded. Satellite and over-the-air TV will use phone lines or wireless communication synchronized with their broadcast to achieve interactivity. New technology will simplify the TV interface. Trying to record one or more programs at certain times and days remains frustratingly complex with analog systems. Recording a show on one channel while you watch a different show on another may require you to swap the cables among your TV, video, and set-top box. In the future, taping a show will be as simple as telling the TV the name of the show and the episode. Using speech to interact with the TV, PC, or other personal companions will be common within 10 years. The technology will combine speech recognition and natural language understanding so that the computer can determine your intent. Speech synthesis will improve dramatically from the robot-sounding voices you hear today. Your TV and PC will include a camera so they can recognize gestures and facial expressions. They'll be able to tell whether you're talking to the device or someone else or another device and determine your emotional reaction. If you appear confused, the TV or PC will offer interactive help on the current topic or issue. It will also adapt to your behavior, whether that has to do with the programming you like on your TV or the typical pattern of activities on your PC. Computers that see, listen, and learn will extend digital technology into many new areas where the keyboard or mouse interface makes interaction impractical. The social implications of the web lifestyle and work style are enormous. A lot of people fear that computers and the Internet will depersonalize experience, creating a world that's less warm and fuzzy. Some people were initially afraid that the telephone would reduce face-to-face contact too. Just as two people might call each other when they would have talked face-to-face without the phone, two people sitting close to each other might email each other when they would have met face-to-face without email. Any medium can be misused. The evolution of personal and professional manners for the web will continue. It's easy to speculate that the web lifestyle, with everyone off in his or her own little world, will cause society to fly apart. I believe the opposite is actually true. Just as the phone and email have increased contact between people living in different communities and between people on the go, the PC and the Internet give us another way to communicate. They don't take any away. In reality, the ability to use the Internet to move or redefine boundaries in our communities is strengthening personal and cultural connections. The city of Amsterdam, the Netherlands, facilitates Internet discussions about issues such as city planning, safety, and drugs. Citizens can connect to the police via email. An Egyptian site for children called the Little Horus website contains more than 300 pages of information and illustrations covering Egypt's 7,000 years of civilization. It also gives snapshots of Egypt today, including its economic, cultural, and social life. The tour section includes tips on popular destinations for children. The web lifestyle is about broadening horizons, not narrowing them. Community building is going to be one of the biggest growth areas in the next few years on the web. The web dramatically increases the number of communities you can bond to. In the past, you might have had time to be a part of your neighborhood community and one or two social organizations you took the trouble to join. In the web lifestyle, you're limited only by your interests. One of the most powerful socializing aspects of the web is its ability to connect groups of like-minded people independent of geography or time zones. If you want to get together a group of avid bridge players, or talk issues with people who share your political views, or stay in touch with your ethnic groups scattered all over the world, the web makes it easy to do. If you want to keep up with the goings-on in your hometown, the web can help. I've discovered that New Yorkers transplanted to the West Coast have an insatiable appetite for news from the Big Apple, and many of them satisfy that desire through the web. A website such as Third Age, which offers an electronic community space for seniors, illustrates the power of electronic community building. The site provides advice on family, health, technology, warnings about scams targeting seniors, and discussion groups on topical issues. The web lets you join communities across the globe and provides the opportunity to strengthen connections in your own backyard. In Singapore, population density and the government's focus on infrastructure have helped the city-state become perhaps the world leader in the deployment of fiber-optic cable and interactive applications built on top of it. Broadband cable is a required utility, like water, gas, electricity, and telephone service. Virtually all public housing has been connected with cable, and Singapore officials estimate that more than 50% of all homes have PCs. Not all communities getting wired are urban centers. Parthenay, France, a town of 12,000 people, is one of 4 communities in 3 countries that have gone online as part of the European Imagine project, supported by the European Union and a partnership of cities and industry. Citizens are using the web in their day-to-day lives for such things as ordering bulk groceries. French families still come down to the market every Saturday, but now they bring a small basket and buy only specialty items, making the excursion more of a social activity. An online philosopher's cafe encourages thoughtful discussion, and every Wednesday cattle breeders have chat sessions to discuss issues of common concern. The goal of the 3-year Imagine project is to pass on an integrated solution to another 30 European communities for deployment. How are we going to find the time to live a web lifestyle and join more communities? The web will make a lot of things more efficient than they used to be. You can quickly find out how much your used car is worth, plan a trip, or find out anything you need to know when you want to make a major purchase. These activities are easy on the web today, and people will probably trade some of the time they now spend reading the paper or watching TV for the information or entertainment they'll find on the web. A British study in 1998 showed that about 25% of the British adults who used the Internet watched less television than they did before. Much of this program is about having all the information we want at our fingertips. Most people want to find the best price for a product or to be up to date on the important issues affecting their local or national communities. We've gotten by without this information because obtaining it has simply been too difficult. Without realizing it, we've been making do. The web lifestyle isn't about changing human nature or the fundamentals of how people live. Instead, the web lifestyle gives more people a chance to pursue their interests in a better way. For the consumer, the web lifestyle will have a positive impact. With the web as the world's biggest collection of shopping malls, consumers will have choices they didn't have before. They'll be able to find all the choices for goods they want and, in many cases, have them custom-made. They can have the final product delivered directly to their doors. The web produces a true consumer-centric world. Because consumers are demanding faster service, stronger relationships, and personalization, the web lifestyle will drive companies to develop a digital nervous system in order to keep pace with their markets. The web connects colleagues, friends, and families in new ways. Interest-based communities are forming with members from all over the world, and government has the potential to engage constituents more than ever before. By enabling people to shop, get news, meet each other, be entertained, and gossip in ways we're only now beginning to understand, the Internet is becoming the town square for the global village of tomorrow. With a web lifestyle, people can throw off many of the limitations that have been around for so long that we almost take them for granted. The web lifestyle is not about adding complexity to already busy lives. As people embrace the web lifestyle, they'll eventually take it for granted, just as they do the electricity lifestyle they live today. Change the boundaries of business. A flow of digital information changes the way people and organizations work, and the way commerce is conducted across organizational boundaries. Internet technologies also will change the boundaries of organizations of all sizes. In changing the boundaries, the web work style of using digital tools and processes enables both organizations and individuals to redefine their roles. A corporation can use the Internet to work seamlessly with professionals such as lawyers and accountants who remain outside the corporate walls as consultants rather than as company employees. An important re-engineering principle is that companies should focus on their core competencies and outsource everything else. The Internet allows a company to focus far more than in the past by changing which employees work within the walls and which work outside in an adjunct, consulting, or partnering role. Our core competencies at Microsoft are creating high-volume software products, working with other software companies, and providing customer service and support. We outsource a number of functions that don't fall into these categories, from help desk technical support for our employees to the physical production of our software packages. The web work style makes it possible to deal better with unpredictable demand. Because you have an intense need for a skill and then you don't, for some areas you want flexible staffing to deal with peaks and valleys. The Internet means that more companies can take a studio approach to running major parts of their businesses. Big Hollywood studios have full-time employees to handle finance, marketing, and distribution, and other ongoing projects. But the creative side of the business, the full-time movie-making staff, isn't very big at all. When a movie concept is agreed upon, a director assembles a large group of people to create the film. When they're done, they disband. Everyone, from the director to the actors to the cinematographer to the key grip, goes on to other projects. Web technology makes it possible for many different kinds of projects to be structured as studio-type work. A project owner who wants to assemble a team can go online, describe the project, and find out who's available. People and organizations with the right skills can declare their interest, and the project owner can assemble a team quickly. People looking for work will find more opportunities for employment that meets their particular interests and requirements. If they have highly specialized skills, for example, or if they want to work only certain hours. The web can mediate the gathering of resources for a project a lot more efficiently than the "my people will call your people" approach can. Despite the emergence of new flexible boundaries, big companies won't deconstruct themselves into per-project production companies. Companies need to excel in consistent in-house execution of their core competencies. Big firms will continue to load balance that work as they always have. They'll just use technology to do it more efficiently. Every company will experiment to find its optimal size and organizational structure, though the dominant trend will be toward decreased overall size. Some employees in companies of any size are understandably nervous about the implications of the web work style. They assume that if their company chooses to restructure itself around web technologies, their jobs may disappear. Not so, unless restructuring is just a fancy term to mask layoffs. When a company downsizes, jobs are lost. When a company outsources, jobs move. The goal is not to eliminate work, but to move the responsibility to specialists outside. It's far more efficient for many companies, including Microsoft, to have an outside company handle installation and support for desktop machines, for example, because companies that specialize in such work can develop worldwide best practices, and because we can solicit competitive bids for the job. Employees who react to the prospect of outsourcing with fear are assuming that work belongs in the company and not out. As companies redefine themselves, some people will be dislocated. Despite the understandable anxiety, employees should also look at boundary changes as opportunities to define their jobs the way they want them, and to work for an organization of the size and personality they prefer. Or they can even use this sea change as a chance to start their own business. Not too long ago, one person who had been a freelance writer watched Microsoft outsource more and more writing assignments and recognized an opportunity. Today, this person has a tidy business managing a dozen or so freelance writers, and Microsoft's staff now spend their time specifying the work to be done instead of trying to manage the writing process for a bunch of different people. By and large, the changes in organizational structure will empower good employees. The web work style is particularly well suited to lawyers, accountants, engineers, and doctors who usually work independently or in small teams. One of the reasons professionals have traditionally organized themselves into firms is to deal with fluctuations in customer demand. Now, boundary changes as opportunities to define their jobs the way they want them, and to work for an organization of the size and personality they prefer. Or they can even use this sea change as a chance to start their own business. Not too long ago, one person who had been a freelance writer watched Microsoft outsource more and more writing assignments and recognized an opportunity. Today, this person has a tidy business managing a dozen or so freelance writers, and Microsoft's staff now spend their time specifying the work to be done instead of trying to manage the writing process for a bunch of different people. By and large, the changes in organizational structure will empower good employees. The web work style is particularly well suited to lawyers, accountants, engineers, and doctors who usually work independently or in small teams. One of the reasons professionals have traditionally organized themselves into firms is to deal with fluctuations in customer demand. Now, instead of clustering to make sure that the workload gets distributed, they'll also have the choice of being solo professionals and using the Internet to find customers. Laws or customs will hold back the rate of this change. Doctors and lawyers in most countries are limited in how they can solicit business. But even if they can't go directly to patients or clients, these solo practitioners can act as free agents to solicit work from established firms. With the web, becoming a free agent is no longer limited to athletes, artists, actors, and other big-name professional or creative types. It's now available to almost every kind of knowledge worker. Already, the free agent labor pool, including self-employed workers, independent contractors, and workers at temporary agencies, totals about 25 million Americans. One benefit of self-employment is diversification. You're less likely to be out of work if you have several employers than if you have one. Not everyone will choose the freelance approach. A lot of people want to work for the bigger firms. They like the idea of belonging to one company, working on long-term projects, and having continuity in people and in the culture of a particular workplace. They invest in their career, and the company invests in them. A lot of the most interesting jobs, such as software design at my company, are core areas that won't be outsourced. Most companies, including Microsoft, work hard to make it attractive for good employees to stay long-term. A lot of developers and researchers joined Microsoft because they saw the chance to design software or develop technologies that will be used by millions of people. Like many artists, they want their work to reach the largest possible audience. People who want to work for a big company will, and people who don't want to will have interesting alternatives. A web work style also makes it easier for people who have good skill sets, but who can't or choose not to work full-time. Because they can find more work over the Internet and do more work remotely, such people will have new opportunities, and society will benefit by better utilizing this huge pool of talent. Many knowledge workers will live where they want to live and structure their work the way they want it, and still make major contributions to the businesses they work for or with. In the web work style, employees can push the freedom the web provides to its limits. When it comes to work style, the choice will be the workers. As a business manager, you need to take a hard look at your core competencies. Revisit the areas of your company that aren't directly involved in these competencies and consider whether web technologies can enable you to spin off those tasks. Let another company take over the management responsibilities for that work, and use modern communications technology to work closely with the people, now partners instead of employees, doing the work. Also consider the employees who have strong expertise but decide they don't want to work full-time. Better communication tools may allow you to utilize their skills on an ongoing basis. The competition to hire the best people will increase in the years ahead. Companies that give extra flexibility to their employees will have the edge in this key area. Part 3. Manage knowledge to improve strategic thought. Bad news can be really disheartening. When you get news of a product failure, there's a real temptation to think, oh, that's as much as I want to know about that. I think I'll go home now. I think I'll work on something else. When you lose a customer, it can be tempting to tell each other, that customer's not very sharp. They just made the wrong decision. Meetings in which colleagues try to explain away a product failure or a lost customer are the worst. But they are preferable to the meeting that isn't called, to the silence and inactivity when nobody tells you something negative is going on. If a competitor introduces a superior product, or if you lose a customer, resist the temptation to put it out of mind. Ignoring bad news is a formula for decline. Only the Paranoid Survive is Intel Chairman Andrew Grove's book about the need for a business to stay alert to change at what he calls major inflection points in the market. In the book, Andy talks about how important it is for a company's middle managers, often the first to realize that what worked before doesn't quite work anymore, to confront senior management with bad news. Otherwise, he says, senior management in a company is sometimes late to realize that the world is changing on them, and the leader is often the last of all to know. In one example of a major inflection point, Andy describes Intel's slow response to a crisis over early versions of its Pentium chip in late 1994. Certain chips contained a minor engineering flaw. Intel reacted to the problem on the basis of it being a relatively insignificant bug that would affect only a very small number of users. Customers, however, felt differently. Highly technical users cared about minor computational errors. The general consumers Intel was now courting were alarmed at the mere suggestion that something could be wrong with their PCs. Intel endured unrelenting bombardment, as Andy described it, much of it the result of customers rallying together on the Internet, before offering a free replacement part to anyone who wanted it. Few customers took the company up on its offer, but the public anger subsided immediately. An engineer himself, Andy confessed that he was one of the last to understand that his company now had to respond to a customer crisis as a consumer products company would, not in a month, as it had taken Intel this time, but in a matter of days. It took a barrage of relentless criticism to make me realize that something had changed, and that we needed to adapt to the new environment. The lesson is, we all need to expose ourselves to the winds of change. We need to expose ourselves to our customers, both the ones who are staying with us, as well as those that we may lose by sticking to the past. We need to expose ourselves to lower-level employees who, when encouraged, will tell us a lot that we need to know. Some experts say that companies struggle with the need for change because they haven't been designed for change. Hierarchy gets in the way. The corporate culture sees innovation as risky and suspect. Worthy failure, experimentation, is punished. A similar reaction can set in against bad news. Lower-level staff may hesitate to bring bad news forward, and many managers don't want to hear it. Corporate structure and culture can be a real roadblock, no question. A change in corporate attitude, encouraging and listening to bad news, has to come from the top. The CEO and the other senior executives have to insist on getting bad news, and they have to create an appetite for bad news throughout their organizations. The bearer of bad tidings should be rewarded, not punished. Business leaders have to want to listen to alerts from salespeople, product developers, and customers. You can't just turn off the alarm and go back to sleep, not if you want your company to survive. Most of the excellent computer companies that Tom Peters and Robert Waterman cited back in 1982 in their fine book In Search of Excellence have experienced serious setbacks since the book came out. IBM saw both its mainframe and its mini-computer businesses undermined by PCs in the 1980s and 1990s. Digital Equipment Corporation undercut IBM's mainframes with its smaller mini-computers, only to be undercut itself later by the still smaller PCs that Digital and many other computer companies had dismissed as toys. Wang didn't see the PC revolution coming either and lost the word processing market to companies that provided software on the PC rather than on dedicated hardware systems. These companies still talked to their customers. They still had smart, responsive people working for them. IBM's own Skunkworks team had released the IBM PC in 1981, establishing a standard that made the PC a business tool. But IBM continued for 2 full decades to see PCs through the lens of its larger computer systems. This view distorted and slowed its response to a fundamental technology shift. After allowing Compaq to get out of the gate first with a 32-bit PC system, IBM watched its share of the PC market drop from 55% to 15% within a couple of years. Its share now hovers below 10%. Digital, despite a reputation for high-quality products and services, struggled throughout the PC era until Compaq, a PC vendor, bought it in 1998. Wang went through bankruptcy before emerging again as a systems integrator. Examples from the computer industry are only the most recent instances of an unwillingness to hear bad news. In 1920, Ford had 90% of the low-priced car market and was responsible for 54% of the total automotive manufacturing output in the country. Ford's position seemed to be invincible. Yet by May 1927, technical advances at General Motors and other automotive companies had forced Henry Ford to take the drastic step of shutting down his main plant for an entire year to retool for new designs. Today, Ford is still a world leader in automobile production and quality, but it has never regained its pre-1927 position in the industry. Somebody at Ford saw the changes coming in the 1920s. An engineer who came up with a new design was fired for his temerity. The senior leadership wouldn't listen. In commercial aviation, Douglas Aircraft, with its DC series, had a major lead over Boeing immediately after World War II. Douglas was so focused on filling all of its orders for the propeller-powered DC-7 that it failed to move quickly enough to jet engines. Boeing built the jet-powered 707 on speculation, without a single customer order in hand, and never looked back. Douglas is now part of Boeing. It doesn't do any good to be receptive to bad news if you can't get bad news up through your organization and then do something about it in a hurry. Today's digital technology can ensure that you get the news and that you can put your organization into action fast. How fast a company can respond to an emergency is a measure of its corporate reflexes. People in the organization will feel lousy and threatened by bad news, but that's okay as long as they feel it as a group. As an active leadership, I created a sense of crisis about the Internet in 1994 and 1995. Not to leave people paralyzed or unhappy, but to excite them to action. The leader needs to create an environment in which people can analyze the situation and develop a good response. I like good news as much as the next person, but it also puts me in a skeptical frame of mind. I wonder what bad news I'm not hearing. When somebody sends me an email about an account we've won, I always think, there are a lot of accounts nobody has sent email about. Does that mean we've lost all of those? This reaction may seem unwarranted, but I've found there's a psychological impulse in people to send good news when there's bad news brewing. It's as if they want to lessen the shock. A good email system ensures that bad news can travel fast, but your people have to be willing to send you the news. You have to be consistently receptive to bad news, and then you have to act on it. Sometimes I think my most important job as a CEO is to listen for bad news. If you don't act on it, your people will eventually stop bringing bad news to your attention, and that's the beginning of the end. In 3 years, every product my company makes will be obsolete. The only question is whether we'll make them obsolete or somebody else will. In the next 10 years, if Microsoft remains a leader, we'll have had to weather at least 3 major crises. That's why we've always got to do better. Ask anybody who's ever worked at Microsoft, and they'll tell you that if there's one cultural quality we have, it's that we always see ourselves as an underdog. I see us as an underdog today, just as I've seen us as an underdog every day for the last 20 years. If we don't maintain that perspective, some competitor will eat our lunch. I insist that we stay on top of the news, as well as pursue longer-term developments on the research front, and that we use bad news to drive us to put innovative new features into our products. One day, somebody will catch us napping. One day, an eager upstart will put Microsoft out of business. I just hope it's 50 years from now, not 2 or 5. Once you embrace unpleasant news not as a negative but as evidence of a need for change, you aren't defeated by it. You're learning from it. It's all in how you approach failures, and believe me, we know a lot about failures at Microsoft. Back in the 1980s, our multi-plan spreadsheet product couldn't make any headway against Lotus 123. We spent the last half of the 1980s working on a database called Omega before we finally abandoned the project in 1990. We based our long-term operating system strategy on jointly building OS/2 with IBM. But that project came to an end in 1992 after we'd sunk hundreds of millions of dollars and countless hours of developer time into it. In the early 1990s, we had to can our Newton-like personal digital assistant because the technology wasn't good enough. In 1993, we had a project we thought would revolutionize office machines such as copiers and faxes called Microsoft at Work, but it never worked. In the mid-1990s, our TV-style Internet shows on MSN were a flop. The weight of all of our failures could make me too depressed to come into work. Instead, I'm excited about the challenges, and by how we can use today's bad news to help solve tomorrow's problems. What we learned in our multi-plan spreadsheet effort helped us develop Microsoft Excel, the most advanced graphical spreadsheet when it came to market in 1985, and it still leads the competition. A lot of what we learned from the Omega database project paid off several years later, when we shipped Microsoft Access, which became the most popular desktop database. That modern, built-from-scratch, world-class operating system, initially intended to be OS/2 version 3.0, became Windows NT instead. Our early experiences with small devices and Office form factors helped us understand the technical requirements for a growing market we now serve with our Windows CE operating system. And our Internet media investments taught us that our customers thought our role on the Internet should be as a provider of practical, software-intensive products such as Microsoft Expedia, Travel, Investor, Finance, and Sidewalk, Leisure. Learning from mistakes and constantly improving products is a key in all successful companies. Listening to customers is a big part of that effort. You have to study what customers say about their problems with your products and stay tuned in to what they want, extrapolating from leading-edge buyers to predict future requirements. In software, customers always want more. If you improve software reliability, customers say, "Great, but what about scalability?" If you improve scalability, they want more integration. Our customers are always upping the ante, as they should. Listening to the customers means hearing their complaints about current product shortcomings. But getting bad news from customers passed all the way to the product design groups is surprisingly hard to do. Most companies have an inefficient chain of people and paper between customers and the people who can make major improvements. When the customer data finally reaches the product design group, it often isn't easy for the team to digest its significance and prioritize it accordingly. All of the delays taken together mean that improvements don't happen as fast as they should. I recommend the following approach to integrating customer complaints and wish lists into product and service development. Focus on your most unhappy customers. Use technology to gather rich information on their unhappy experiences with your product and to find out what they want you to put into the product. Use technology to drive the news to the right people in a hurry. If you do these three things, you'll turn those draining bad news experiences into an exhilarating process of improving your product or service. Unhappy customers are always a concern. They're also your greatest opportunity. Adopting a learning posture rather than a negative defensive posture can make customer complaints your best source of significant quality improvements. Adopting the right technology will give you the power to capture and convert complaints into better products and services fast. Hotels and airlines usually offer a satisfaction guarantee. If you're unhappy with the company's service, you receive a discount or an upgrade that's good the next time. The satisfaction guarantee is actually a sales tool designed to get you to come back. A radically different approach comes from Promise Hotels based in Memphis, Tennessee. Promise, which generated $5 billion in revenue in 1997, has a family of hotels. The best known are the Hampton Inns, Embassy Suites, and Doubletree Inns. Promise was the first hotel chain to guarantee no charge for your current visit if you have any complaint about your stay. And any Promise employee can make good on that guarantee. A front desk clerk, a maid, a maintenance engineer, anybody. For obvious reasons, customers love the Promise guarantee. Debbie Fields, President and Chief Executive Officer of Mrs. Fields, the chain of cookie and baked goods stores, stayed at a Hampton Inn one time and mentioned at checkout that there hadn't been any soap or towels in her room when she'd arrived. The desk person ripped up her bill and told her the stay was free. She was so impressed that she made Hampton Inn her company's corporate hotel and ultimately ended up on the Hampton Promise board. A guarantee of this kind is not just a feel-good device for the customer, although making the customer feel good certainly makes sense. The larger business reason for offering such a guarantee is to create an environment in which customer complaints drive service improvements. The rationale is laid out in the book Service Breakthroughs, Changing the Rules of the Game. It states that a guarantee encourages the entire organization to focus on customers' definitions of good service, not on executives' assumptions about what good service is. Reliable data about the firm's service delivery system helps identify failure points, and the guarantee invariably injects a sense of urgency into all of these activities. The end result, of course, is unshakable customer loyalty. A no-questions-asked guarantee from a service company such as Promise makes complaints mean something. Customers like the guarantee going in, even if they're a little skeptical about how hard it will be to get you to deliver on it. And when you do deliver on it, you have a very gratified customer. Equally important, the guarantee creates a financial incentive to fix the underlying problem right away. Because it costs the hotel money immediately, the problem doesn't get overlooked. It doesn't get filed away. Tying complaints to immediate payouts lowers the water and exposes the rocks relating to service quality. Because every employee is empowered to act on the guarantee, everybody is on the hook for quality. The everyday hotel workers who make or break quality and who can administer the guarantee have more pride in their own jobs and pride in the hotel. Peer pressure comes into play within the different groups to hold up their end. And if you're going to give all hotel employees the power to make a customer's stay free, a lot of power for service personnel, then you'd better train them all to do a good job. When Promise first proposed this policy, some franchisees said, "You're nuts. Deadbeats will just take advantage of us. They'll kill us." So Promise inaugurated the policy with a mix of company-owned and franchised hotels. It turned out that refunds were much lower than anticipated, averaging 0.3% of revenues. Promise also discovered that intent to return was 50% higher for customers who invoked the guarantee than for other customers. Franchisees quickly got with the program. How can you put your money where your mouth is like this and not go broke? Technology. Promise uses information technology to track unhappy customer experiences and convert them into continuous service improvements, and to prevent too many exercises of its guarantee. Complaints are tracked centrally on the chain's corporate database, so Promise Management can see where the complaints are coming from. Promise can quickly identify any hotels experiencing the same repeated complaint, say unfriendly desk clerks or dirty rooms, so the company can work with hotel managers to fix the weak point. The same technology gives Promise a way to track any customers who might be tempted to take advantage of the chain's generosity. The company can quickly identify anybody who goes from hotel to hotel, claiming poor service and getting free rooms. When such a pattern develops, Promise immediately sends a nice letter to the customer, lamenting the fact that the hotel chain can't meet his quality standards and inviting him to stay in a competitor's facility. The central customer database also enables Promise to track the paths of the chain's favorite customers, the regular guests. If you're a business person who stays at 4 or 5 Promise properties on a regular basis, and you suddenly stop going to any of them, you'll receive a special promotion to entice you back. The customer database of about 30 million records, which is updated every night, helps Promise personalize a stay. Everybody, the hotel, the travel agent, and central reservations, can see the individual customer's preferences. When you arrive at a Promise hotel, the receptionist knows that you prefer a non-smoking room or a double instead of a king-sized bed, or that your allergies require you to have special pillows. Promise designed and is implementing an end-to-end infrastructure for information flow. This infrastructure has enabled the hotel chain to use its information not just to handle reservations or support guarantees, but to extend the use to operational and revenue management systems that enable hotel employees and managers to make better decisions and improve hotel operations. Because of the comprehensive way in which they assist franchisees in their day-to-day business operations, Promise calls the management systems a hotel manager in a box. Training costs for a front desk person, a position with 100% annual turnover, has gone from $11,000 per employee to $3,000. Instead of spending 2 weeks in formal classroom training in Memphis, new front desk employees now spend only 2 to 3 hours in training at their hotel properties, moving Promise closer to its goal of day one performance. Employees in every hotel have a single way to do all of their many tasks, from conference room scheduling to accounting to check-in. The checkout process has been reduced from 20 screens to 3. Individual hotel managers now have access to operational and revenue management information that helps them track data that used to be available only to the corporate executives in Memphis. A franchisee who owns 10 Embassy Suites, for example, can log on to a PC every morning and see how every one of his hotels did the night before, how they stand against plan, and which came in under plan. If the numbers for one of the hotels don't look good, the franchisee can fire off an email to his hotel managers to get everybody involved in devising plans for boosting occupancies or revenues. The operational folks at Promise can see the same information and get in on the collaboration, too, offering assistance to properties that are lagging. As business needs change, the PC architecture will enable new applications to be developed at modest incremental cost, further integrating the information and activities in Promise's corporate offices and franchises. Most retail product companies take a different approach to guarantees than service companies with their perishable inventory of only so many rooms or seats for a given date. Microsoft offers the common 30-day money-back product guarantee to our customers. Like Promise, though, we have recognized the importance of using technology to capture and convert customer feedback into improvements as fast as possible. We began collecting data about customer problems from support engineers in 1985, and began the steps to create a regular feedback loop in 1991. First we used a phone system, and then developed different tools for gathering data from sources such as email, internet news groups, and the web. Then we began to consolidate the data. We're now in our third generation of computer-based customer feedback tools. The team specifically charged with using our customer feedback tools to convert bad news to good is the Product Improvement, PI team, in Microsoft Technical Services. Product Improvement is the voice of the customer. The people in this group sift through a lot of bad news and some good news all day long. They focus exclusively on what our customers are telling us that we might not want to hear, but should. They analyze customer feedback and lobby on behalf of the customers for fixes and new product features to improve the customer's experience with our software. Although they sit in the customer support group, they're not in the customer support business. They're in the product improvement business. The product improvement team has a tool for incident management and analysis that makes sense of 7 to 8 million pieces of raw customer data per year. 6 million pieces of data come from support incidents, mostly by phone but also from the web. 1 million come in from Premier, our more sophisticated support service for enterprise customers. The rest of the customer data comes from a variety of other sources. Support engineers enter problems reported via phone into the database as they handle calls. Online problem reports go directly into the database. Emails, already electronic, are easily converted into a structured format for entry. From this database, the data is extracted in statistically valid random samplings for each product and scrubbed for accuracy and categorization. Because each problem report is weighed for both frequency and the labor involved in resolving the problem each time it surfaces, the most difficult issues bubble to the top, either by topic and product, such as the number of network problems experienced by users of Windows, or by topic and groups of products, such as whether file management is a concern across all of Microsoft Office. Not all of the customer feedback is negative. We also get a lot of wishes. Some customer wishes we can't do anything about, as with the guy who asked for a date with actress Sandra Bullock. Other wishes we could help with, but choose not to, like the ones by people who ask for a tour of my house. Then there are those that just baffle us, like the one from a fellow who wished he could get Microsoft Flight Simulator to fly him on the computer to the island of Fiji. We finally discovered that the numbers he was entering into the program came from a map on his shower curtain and bore no relationship to earthly coordinates. We pay much more attention to customer wishes involving new product features, which pour in from customers and from our sales representatives and technical account managers over the web, by email, by fax, and by mail at a rate of more than 10,000 per month. By analyzing the aggregate data, the PI team develops prioritized lists of problems and recommends to each development team a variety of solutions, including new product features. This structured feedback gets to our development teams early enough in the development cycle for appropriate corrections or new features to be included in the next release. For example, we shipped Internet Explorer 4.0 in September 1997. 2 months later, we shipped a minor upgrade primarily to deliver features that made Internet Explorer easier to use for people with disabilities. But that upgrade also contained, among other fixes, the solutions for 6 of the top 10 customer complaints from that brief interval between the 2 releases. We acted so quickly because every morning the PI team ran a report to analyze the most severe and time-consuming problems for customers and presented its findings to the Internet Explorer team, which would assign developers to solve the biggest problems. As a result of the fixes, our support call volume dropped by 20% after the upgrade shipped. On a larger scale and over a long time frame, this kind of monitoring and response goes on for all of our major products. The process is constant and iterative. We also use our corporate intranet to disseminate information to all interested parties, integrating web pages with email. For our major products, any employee can go to our website to see the current status of the data on customer complaints and requests. When a product is released, PI posts reports on immediate customer reaction. More detailed reports are posted monthly, organized by major product groups. These monthly reports include a problem's symptoms, a short-term solution, recommendations for a longer-term fix, and any response from the product group. Microsoft subscribers get email with links to new monthly reports as they are done. Other employees will see the most current reports when they browse the intranet site. The most frequent visitors are the program managers, developers, and testers for various products. Writers of online articles regularly review the site to ensure that they develop content focused on the most important issues to customers, and another team uses the site to evaluate what new software tools customers may need. The status of customer issues is included in the major quarterly product reviews that go to senior management. In recent years, Microsoft and other software vendors have been moving from a base of technically sophisticated customers to consumers who care less about technical wizardry than about basic ease of use. As software becomes increasingly prevalent in business, more and more employees who aren't necessarily savvy about technical issues are using computers. And many companies that would never consider themselves to be in the software business at all are getting involved by virtue of publishing web pages and communicating electronically with customers. For less sophisticated customers, it's not good enough that we're merely prompt in helping to fix bugs or providing smart tools to solve problems. They want us to keep things simple in the first place. A goal for companies in many industries now is to use the customer feedback loop to build more intelligence into every aspect of their products, so that there's less and less occasion for bad news to begin with. As they move into electronic commerce, a lot of businesses will have to start using electronic tools to furnish the kind of customer support we're working toward at Microsoft. They'll need to recognize that customers, at least for the near future, will hesitate when they consider purchasing any electronic product or service. How hard will it be to install? Will it work the way I expect it to? If I have problems, how will I get help? Also, users associate one experience with another. If they have trouble setting up their basic online service, they'll be reluctant to set up online banking. If they have problems conducting e-commerce at one site, they'll assume that the problems are a function of e-commerce technology in general, not of a poor website. Using a guarantee to focus corporate attention on customers and using information technology to ensure quick response to customer problems is a strategy that works for Promise Hotels, and it will work equally well for any other service company. Using information technology to instantly drive customer complaints into product development groups, as we've done at Microsoft, is a strategy that will work for any product company. Whether you sell insurance or real estate, or you make trucks or breakfast cereal, the principle of using digital systems to tie customers back to your core business is central to future success. You can collect information from customers even if you don't have a digital system, but you can't analyze it quickly. You can't make non-digital information integral to the development process for a service or a product. Non-digital systems won't enable you to route information directly to product developers. Digital systems give companies the ability to do all these things and transform into adaptive learning organisms. Customer service changes from an add-on activity to an integral part of product development. The process has to begin with a corporate decision to put the customer at the center of the solution. Once you do that, digital information enables you to create a tight loop that runs between customer needs and your company's reactions. Promise can focus its staff on the problems that customers most care about. At Microsoft, we can put our software engineers to work on the problems that are giving customers the most grief, rather than on problems the engineers think are the most technically interesting. If you accept customer feedback electronically, you need to be prepared to answer quickly. When a customer mails a letter to a company, he or she doesn't expect a reply for a week. But when a customer emails a query to your company, he or she knows that the email arrives in a matter of minutes, if not seconds. Business protocol is to respond to email within a few hours or overnight. A few days is slow. If you take weeks to reply, consumers will take their business to a more responsive company. Because email is so much easier to send than paper mail, you're likely to get many more responses, too. So when you ask for electronic feedback, make sure you have the staff and the internal systems in place to handle it promptly. Listen to your customers and take their bad news as an opportunity to turn your failures into the concrete improvements they want. Companies that invest early in digital nervous systems to capture, analyze, and capitalize on customer input will differentiate themselves from competition. You should examine customer complaints more often than company financials, and your digital system should help you convert bad news to improved products and services. Know your numbers. If you take your car into a Jiffy Lube station for an oil change and ask for 10W40, a good oil for hot weather driving, the service technician will first check his PC terminal before doing anything to your car to make certain that the manufacturer recommends 10W40 and not another grade of oil for that make and model. In fact, the technician can tell you all of the manufacturer's recommendations for service intervals and for the vehicle parts that Jiffy Lube might service: oil, filters, headlights, windshield wipers, transmission fluid, grease, even the number of grease fittings. All from a PC-based point-of-sale system in the service bay. Cars get in and out fast. A typical Jiffy Lube outlet services 45 cars a day and is able to do so more quickly and efficiently with the new system. Technicians don't have to look things up in print manuals anymore, and the system helps managers calculate the number of employees needed to handle traffic patterns for the time of day and the day of the week. It cuts back on overtime. Most important, it reduces lines. In this business, when customers see a line, they drive away. The old paper system was a productivity bottleneck. 3 months after your visit, you'll get a service reminder for your next oil change, one of the 300,000 reminders that Jiffy Lube sends out a week. Having a historical record of customer service to enable timely customer contact is a prerequisite for doing business in many service industries today. Jiffy Lube's system monitors the number of miles driven between visits and, after a couple of visits, learns about the customer's driving habits. Knowing the timing and nature of each customer interaction means that a company can take advantage of cross-selling opportunities. Jiffy Lube was the world's #1 franchisor of fast lube centers, but unprofitable, when the Pennzoil Company bought it in 1991. In 1997, Jiffy Lube earned $25 million, the highest earnings in its history, and an increase of 14% over 1996 earnings on gross revenues of $765 million. Jiffy Lube serviced 21 million cars, an increase of 1.2 million over 1996. Driving this new success is a daily flow of information from each store to headquarters and back. Customer service information from each of the 600 company-owned and 1,000 franchisee-owned outlets is uploaded to Jiffy Lube headquarters in Houston each night. With the merger of Quaker State's Q Lube stores, the total number of outlets will increase to more than 2,100 locations. The data goes into multiple servers, including the company's 120-gigabyte customer database, which was recently cut over from a mainframe to a PC server. Headquarters does immediate analysis on a number of operational measures: number of cars handled, costs, revenues, and actual versus projected profits, and on sales trends. Beginning as early as 5 a.m., up-to-date performance data is available to all Jiffy Lube managers nationwide, who can log on to the database to get performance figures. Each manager uses the information on a daily basis to see current revenue status, average ticket price, the time required to do each job, and overall throughput for the day. corporate management can see historic comparisons of figures for all Jiffy Lube centers. Franchisees with multiple stores can see consolidated activity in all of their holdings. Jiffy Lube's regional managers, who typically supervise 10 outlets each, use the operational data to help their outlet managers build their businesses and be more profitable and efficient. The system is quite flexible. If a regional manager develops a special report, say to detect fraud or abnormalities, it can be sent electronically to different outlets for local analysis. The Jiffy Lube manager usually isn't an expert in market research, so headquarters employees do marketing and trend analysis. The information they use includes statistics, maps, and profiles of Jiffy Lube customers. The data shows sales by different neighborhoods, including neighborhoods in which the Jiffy Lube outlet isn't as effective as it might be, or which neighborhoods are statistically ripe for a promotion. If customers are bypassing a neighborhood Jiffy Lube center for another one farther away, the system gives Jiffy Lube an opportunity to investigate. The pattern might be a result of natural traffic flow, or it might signal specific problems at the closer store. Jiffy Lube is beginning to use its information system to help with promotions. A manager who looks at the weather forecast on a Tuesday afternoon and decides to run a wiper blade special in a certain market can have the system updated with the promotional details and pricing for the local stores first thing Wednesday. In the future, follow-up information will help the manager determine whether the promotion was profitable enough to try someplace else, or whether a special on transmission services was more successful. Its extensive demographic data analysis and mapping software also helps Jiffy Lube scout and develop potential outlet locations. The software plots existing Jiffy Lube locations, competitor locations, and potential new sites according to the demographics of sites that have already been successful. The company can overlay a map with market data to see where sizable numbers of prospective customers don't have a nearby Jiffy Lube service center. That kind of analysis strengthens the company's relationship with its franchisees, since Jiffy Lube can provide the franchisee with data on land costs, proximity to other stations, and other variables that he would not ordinarily have. Today, information about the individual customer is stored in a database at each local Jiffy Lube store. Depending on size, each service center has a database of 8,000 to 50,000 customers. Jiffy Lube has an initiative to consolidate its 18 million vehicle records and 85 million service records into a national database that is connected to each store. A customer will soon be able to drive into any Jiffy Lube service center in the United States, and the outlet will know that vehicle's service history. When any service is done, the data will be updated in a single place and available to outlets all over the country. The ability to perform this kind of customer service has changed the way Jiffy Lube does business. It doesn't sit back and wait for customers to come in. It learns as much as possible about its customers and markets and adapts accordingly. Jiffy Lube finds out the kinds of promotions that customers respond to, and then ties promotions to customer demographics. The result is more targeted promotions. It might send a certain kind of promotion to customers with a certain income within 2 miles of a particular outlet, for example. The company also compiles data on the preferences of individual customers, so that it can send service reminders and other promotions via email to customers who prefer electronic rather than paper reminders. Handling the reminders via email will make it possible for Jiffy Lube to personalize promotions and cut costs while improving convenience for customers.